What's up, guys? Sorry about running behind. It's actually all Mike's fault this time. Once again, deciding that 6 minutes is all he needs to get prepared, which throws the whole thing behind. He wants to be important, but not important enough to where he can still show up late. See, he ain't even sat down yet. Look, y'all just seen him sit down. I caught you. That's why I like this thing, man. I can catch you just like that. But what's Oh, I thought you was talking to me. But yeah, it'll ding a ding a ding. But guys, appreciate y'all coming on tonight. We do have Mr. Sherfield in the office or in the store, office, whatever it is tonight. Man, I'll tell you, I'm everywhere tonight. But hope everybody's doing good. We're gonna get to Mr. Sherfield here in just a second, but one of the biggest things we're going to talk about real quick is once again this coronavirus. Let me get you turned up, Mike, that way. Hey, Amanda, Brittany, Patricia, how's everybody? This virus, listen, guys, no virus is a good virus. Don't get me wrong. Don't think I am. One person sent me a message. I don't believe you should be downplaying this thing. And I'm like, listen, but I also cannot upplay it either. Right. This thing has not gotten, in my opinion, even to the proportion of what a flu would be. And
Ebola, it's not.
It was supposed to wipe out half the planet.
Right.
And it was pretty deadly. People who caught that had a very low survival rate, but we still didn't, batten the hatches like we're doing now. And it just feels like every day now Trump's coming on TV and his cabinet, and I'm not necessarily blaming Trump, but at the same time, the buck does stop with him at this point. It seems like every day it's a new little rule that we got to do. Mm-hmm. He just, then the governor comes on not too long later and does another rule, and
now you can't have curfews.
I didn't hear about curfews.
I don't remember what town, but yeah, they got a curfew set for this town.
In South Carolina?
I really can't remember. It was, I guess, hearsay because someone told me that.
I don't believe it.
So I haven't seen it myself.
Yeah, I haven't seen nothing like that.
But I wouldn't put it past them to do.
The only thing I've seen is, bars and restaurants can no longer eat inside. But here's my thing. What if your cook's got coronavirus?
Yeah.
At that point, come on,
Well, the temperature would probably kill it.
Turn the heat up. Tell people, put a sign up on the door. You're more than welcome to come in, but you might want to have your summer clothes ready. They say that this virus cannot survive in temperatures above 78 degrees. But, a doctor has come out already and said that, probably most people have already had this virus.
Didn't even know it.
And don't even know it. So it's a little ridiculous.
How could you determine that you have it if you get sick and you think you have the flu and everybody's scared to go to the doctor for whether it's financial reasons or whether they don't want to catch the coronavirus. Yeah. So they don't know what they have and chalk it up to a flu.
Well, and now you got a guy who's being held in his house by police because he told him he refuses to stay in his home. He refuses to stay quarantined and he has the virus, and that is irresponsible. Don't get me wrong. And if you have the flu, the stomach virus, cold, if you don't have to leave your house, it is irresponsible. It's just my opinion, because like I had a lady come in one day and she was, I'm not trying to be, when she went to wipe her nose, she took her palm right up her, and I need to fax these papers. That's just irresponsible. And, even though I still did it, as soon as she leaves, you sanitize yourself. And I even gave her some. I'm like, here, take some of this,
Shoot this up your nose, please.
People, when you cough, do the vampire cough, all that stuff.
Okay, yeah, and about that, there's a bunch of different ways people say that you should cough, whether it's in your sleeve, your elbow, or whatever it may be. But all of them still don't protect it from getting out.
Yeah.
The only one that really stops it, in my opinion, is to take your shirt, open the neck, and cough down your shirt.
Yeah.
Because when you do it in your elbow, it's still gonna miss.
Yeah.
If you do it, in your collar, it's still gonna miss. Yeah. But it's your germs. Put them on your body. You know, straight down the shirt.
And somebody posted real quick, and then we're going to move on to Sherfield because I want to give him as much time as possible. Amanda Haney says body temperature is 98.6. It doesn't die on contact. Well, once it gets inside your system, it starts to. I'm not a doctor, by no means. I'm going by what a doctor says, but like diseases when they don't have a host, they can live if the outside environment is suitable for their survival. But if you are, you put germs here and there, if it's too hot or too cold and that virus is not known to be able to survive that, it will die. But inside of you, it attaches yourself and it brings down your immune system. Again, I'm not a doctor. I would love to have one day to explain all that. But, like I said, we've already had a doctor who's basically once come out and said, probably most people have already had this virus, and then another one comes out and says, that's why Trump is saying by the end of August this is all over with, because the virus will die in the immense heat. And it's going to be even earlier for South Carolina because South Carolina seems to hit summertime right at the end of April, and we're all going to be in 100-degree heat, and we're going to be complaining about that instead of the virus.
I mean, the cold would kill it too, right? So if it was to snow... that would have been great. The cold kills viruses. Yeah. That's hint why the hospitals keep the temperature so down, so low. So
most germs do. Now colds, it does increase in in colder times. That's why they call it that. But again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not pretending. I'm just can only read what they say and go by that. And like somebody made a post about when I was talking about the office, post office. I was talking about how big that building is, and I'm like, that would be a tough place to sanitize. I don't know if they could clean that. I don't know if they clean it every day. I didn't say they didn't. I said I don't know if they clean it every day. They might do, they might not, but that is a huge building. There's no way you're sanitizing all the way around that corner in every single post office box. And even if you do, it's going to take one person, and they do have older patrons that come in the post office. And I said, as soon as one person comes in and starts hacking, all over that table, they got like 4 tables that you can do your postal service. I mean, that's what I was saying. She was like, well, you're saying we didn't clean. No, I didn't say that. I just said, I find it hard to believe that y'all sanitize and clean that entire building every day. You might do, but that's tough sledding, man. That thing, you ever been in that post office? It's pretty big. When it goes around that corner, you don't realize it's pretty big, Oh,
somebody just commented on the statement I made earlier. Yes, Columbia goes on curfew tomorrow.
See, every day.
Depending.
See, and that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Soon enough, by the end of the week, it's going to be
the national
interstate
lockdown,
interstate travel. Then it's going to be, well, you can't cross county lines, and then soon enough, you can't cross your door pass. I mean, it's like they're trying. Far. It's like a kid with a parent trying to push and push and push and see how far they can take it, because I don't see an epidemic here. We got one death in South Carolina in a nursing home to a person that possibly had a weak immune system, that if they would have caught a cold or the flu or anything else, could it have possibly killed them?
Right.
The chances probably is yes, it probably would have. So unless this disease is bringing something new to the table that we already don't fight on a daily basis, which is flu, cold, and pneumonia, I just cannot understand how it's a pandemic at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're pushing it way out of proportion.
Way too hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's
too hard.
How they gonna enforce this curfew down there, man? They're not really wanting to put people in jail right now because of coronavirus and contaminate everybody. Yeah, but you're gonna keep keep on the street.
That's what I say. You're putting cops in a very awkward position there.
And like I told you earlier, how they're giving out the food for the schools around here. The whole point that kids were taken out of school was to keep them away from each other. Keep a group confined to 10 or less people. Well, we had somebody make a statement the other day when my wife was picking up my kids' schoolwork that they have to do at home, that she had to bring the kids with her to get the lunch. And so you want us to bring all 4 kids up here when the whole purpose of them being out of school is to not be around y'all.
Exactly, Brittany. Yeah.
So in a press release with Kershaw County Sheriff's Office, we're not going to respond or send deputies out to non-emergency phone calls. Non-emergency calls. They were going to try to handle everything they could over the phone.
Yeah. Wow. Skype so we can see who's hitting, you know. And,
let me FaceTime.
Well, I guess that's not a tough sledding thing. All you got to do is go to Facebook now, and most people record their own crimes right there. So
right. Yeah.
So police have to love Facebook.
Yeah.
You can't. Don't give me a cop that's going to be in front of me. No, I don't like Facebook. Bull. Love Facebook because it has made their job a lot easier.
If it would be cases. Admissible, if it would be allowed in court, man. People they'd be people locked up left and right.
They do allow some things like there was a guy one time, he wasn't supposed to have a gun, and he made a little video, and I'm not going to say where, but he made a little music video, and the police seen it, and, they knew he was a felon, and he ended up getting locked up. So they can get you, but
we've made a lot of cases off Facebook.
Oh, God, I can imagine.
That's and that's been a while since I've heard that. Maybe it changed. Did it used to be that it wasn't allowed?
They don't like to give threatening or harassment warrants a lot of times on Facebook.
Yeah, because I guess you couldn't prove they actually.
A lot of times, they say that it wasn't me that sent it. It was somebody else that hacked my Facebook page or something. But when you make a music video or something with you carrying a gun or shooting a gun.
Yep. And how about a lot of those music videos where they're sitting there playing with a gun and boom, it goes off in the house. I mean, that right there.
That's lack of common sense or gun education, safety.
Lack of you needing a gun. That's what that is. You shouldn't have a gun because when you're sitting there playing with it like that. Like, did you remember seeing that video? And guys, I promise you, we're about to get to Sherfield. You remember that video? I'm sorry, that video. I don't know if you've seen it. I've seen it. I wish I hadn't watched it because guns make my stomach turn. They just make me nervous. But that video, I don't have a love for guns. I don't see the love there. Listen, do I believe everybody should have their Second Amendment? Absolutely, but I don't. To where I have an armory in my back porch, no. But that guy and this girl
back porch
was in a car. And they were talking to a phone, and she was doing that. And the guy beside her was like, stop playing. And then, pow, shot him right inside. And all you could see was him kind of like that, man. The most disturbing video. I wish I'd have never seen it. It was on Facebook.
There's another one on Facebook. And you would think by looking at this guy that he would be educated on guns. Older fella, he's shooting targets. His gun don't shoot. And it's a 12 gauge. He sets it down, looks in the barrel.
Up, and it shoots his hat off.
And it shoots his hat off. My goodness. I don't see how he didn't blow his head off.
Very lucky.
Yep.
Yeah.
But guys,
especially with the spread. I guess he had buckshot probably.
But guys, we're going to get to Mr. Sherfield. Sorry about that, but we had to talk about that. Guys, listen to me. The fear is what the pandemic is. It's not the virus. Like I posted on my page, the reaction to this virus is what's going to cause people to die through sheer panic and hoarding and all this. The people are stupid. The person is smart. The people is stupid. And you've got to be smarter. When you go into a grocery store, just because, let's just say they have a new stock of fresh hamburger meat and lots of, that does not mean that you should get all of that and take it home. You got to understand there's other people who have needs just like you and your family. You just need to shop normally. If you shop normally, the stores will stay stocked normally. There's no farmer not working. There's no manufacturers that are shut down as far as food wise and nothing like that. None of that is shut down. So guys, be courteous to your fellow man, especially during this time. It is not like that. You're making it like that. You've got to stop, be courteous, and quit taking all the hand sanitizer. You want people to have clean hands, right? If you take it all, how can I clean my hands? Okay, that's what I'm saying. And if I find, I'll tell you what, if I ever go in the grocery store and I see somebody hoarding hand sanitizer, I'm gonna do like these people are doing. They're taking them little pudding cups. I'm gonna take a pudding cup, open it, and I'm gonna walk over there, and my hands ain't clean because the cookie goes to you. You know, I mean, so let's just calm down, shop normally.
Yeah, buy what you need.
Exactly.
That's it.
Just normally. If you want to buy an extra can of Campbell's soup just because of this, or you don't want to go out and look, that's fine. But when you take home 62 packs of hamburger meat and you are a vegetarian, that is a problem. I mean,
or if you want them to buy in bulk, go to Sam's.
Yeah.
You know, go somewhere where they sell in bulk.
Yeah.
You know,
it's cheaper.
Yeah, stop.
But
stop
still,
taking everything
even
else.
there, shop normally. You know, just shop normally. So we're going to move on from that. We've got Mr. Sherfield in here. I know we're running behind. If we might run over a few minutes late, like we have with all the past candidates. And that was my fault. Sorry about that. My microphone went crazy there. But
I had another rough day today too.
Yeah, I noticed that you're only having rough days on the day of Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Well,
on Wednesdays, he's up at 5 o'clock. What you doing, man? You want me to come by and see you?
Well, I got 3 hours sleep. I got the phone call to go to Greenville today, so.
Oh, okay. Got that call?
Yeah.
That's good. But guys, we're gonna get it flipped over here to Mr. Sherfield. We had him on just a second ago, but we're gonna get as many questions into him. But we like to allow him to be able to come on and be able to talk about what he wants to talk about for a few minutes, and we'll try to get questions in. And if you want, the quickest way for me to get your question tonight is going to be through the chat, but simply because I'll be honest with you, when I go back and watch these videos, I am so sick and tired of hearing that beep, 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 beep. That really gets on my nerves. So I found myself not watching my own videos again because of just that. So I'm going to do everything I can to try to take all the messages or questions I can through the chat. So if you want a question asked, either message me, Mike, or put it in the chat. We'll be glad to ask it. If you want a question asked anonymously, you can send a message and say, I don't want my name spoken, which we normally don't. Anyways, we just typically ask the question to start with. So we're going to get started. We're going to bring him up on the screen.
Let him give his opening statement.
And guys, wow. Is he on trial?
Yeah.
Hey,
pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what
I'll tell you, like I tell all the other ones, thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk with you. You know, this is the first campaign where it's really been this
much interest
and impersonal to where you can actually get a candidate on for an hour like this to be able to talk straight to the people. And
I appreciate y'all letting me be here.
I really appreciate you coming on, but we're gonna kind of just give you the floor for a second and kind of just tell us your background, who you are. A lot of people already know who you are, but for the ones that don't, let them know who you are and that your plans for sheriff.
My name's John Sherfield. I'm a candidate for Union County Sheriff. I've been in law enforcement for 30 years, the last 27 here at the Union Sheriff's Office. I began my career here at the Sheriff's Office in 1994, where I started as a deputy and on the night shift, and I continued to work that for a while and was finally promoted to corporal, then shift sergeant, and where I remained until 2001, where I was transferred to the narcotics unit as a lieutenant. I stayed there and I enjoyed working narcotics. That was my lifelong goal in law enforcement. I stayed there, and then in 2016, I was promoted to captain and then major. I was a supervisor over narcotics and the investigative division. And I was also over the K-9 division. I served on the Crime Stoppers Board as coordinator for Union County. I'm a member of the SWAT team for many years here.
It had to be fun.
I retired February the 14th from the Sheriff's Office to seek the...
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that you could have waited one more day and did it on my birthday. I'm just saying. But you've had a long... career in law enforcement. I'm trying to get your name up there, but it's in white, right? And I'll have to do that in a minute. But that's a long time, a lot of experience in law enforcement. The way things are now, one thing that a lot of people worry about with cops who've been in it a long time is to be able to adapt to the way things are. And unfortunately, with law enforcement, the way law is, lawmen are treated here lately. It seems like the respect for law is going down. What do you feel like more so? I think we all know the reason, the cause of it, but what do you feel like you could do to bring to the table, I guess, of trying to reinstate that respect, but also, to the point to where people understand that you're here to help, not here to ruin their day or their lives or whatever?
Well, if I was elected sheriff, what I would do to build a better relationship with the citizens of Union County is I would put deputies out in the areas where they're seen more. What my plan is to do is to split the county in 4 regions. Right now we have 4 shifts at the sheriff's office with 4 deputies assigned to each shift. I would split the county in 4 regions using 176 and Highway 49 as the split level. And I would appoint a deputy to each region to patrol. And hopefully, I believe I can get 4 more positions. Right now we have 6 investigators. I would do away with one of the investigator slots and put that position on the road as in uniform. I would go back to the sheriff and chief deputy instead of sheriff and 2 majors. That would give another slot. And in 2013, county council took 2 positions from the sheriff's office because of budget cuts, and I would ask for those 2 positions back. And so if I was able to do that, that would put 5 deputies to each shift. So I could put 1 deputy in each region with a sergeant on that shift, rotating or roaming those 4 areas. That way you would have a presence in the outward communities such as Lockhart, Carlisle, and Cross Anchor that don't see a lot of deputies out there.
Yeah.
And when I've been out campaigning, that's what I hear from people, that we never see a marked patrol car here. So I want to do that, and I think that would put deputies in that area, and it would also cut down on the response time when there was a call in that area. If deputies were in the area and somebody was up to some kind of criminal activity, they would think twice a little bit because they know that it won't take long for a deputy to respond. I would also work on the Crime Watch program and get people involved. I recently talked to a group out in Cross Keys the other night, and that was a great group of older citizens out there that's doing a good thing for their community. They're trying to revitalize their area and doing a trash pickup out there. But when I was talking with them, they gave me some good ideas too. We can do the Crime Watch program and have some of the older citizens come in, and the sheriff's office could help them, give them ideas about safety around their house, about cutting shrubs close to their house where people can't hide, use good lighting,
right.
Park your car in an area where you can see it from your door. Just stuff that everybody just don't always think of, but it's common sense.
Yeah.
And I'd also start a ride-along program for the citizens and for potential future deputies.
That's us.
Get in it and see, just see if that might be something that they want to be involved in.
Well, I'll tell you this. I love the live PD thing, and the reason is it does 2 things. It seems to make, now, not all situations, not all. By no means am I saying all. But it seems to make some situations probably better than what they would have been. It can keep a cop on his best behavior, even though most are. Right. But it also keeps some of these suspects in best behavior because they'd rather not look stupid on TV than to, act stupid or do something stupid. You know what I mean? If that camera wasn't there.
Yep. The biggest thing is it protects both individuals.
Oh, yeah.
So another good thing I think that I've thought about and I believe I would implement is when the fair comes around, we've got a $50,000 fax machine that's at the jail. It gives probably 4,000 different scenarios. Why not take it to the fairground and let citizens just go through it and do some active shooting?
Yeah.
It's sitting there and it's not used very often. We've had it for a number of years. I think I've been on it maybe 5 times.
You said a fax machine?
It's called a fax machine. It's like a big full room video screen, and you use like laser Glock guns, M16 rifles.
Oh, man,
you got pepper spray, stuff like that, and you got real life scenarios where people are hollering at you, and you've got to respond back, and some of them are shoot and don't shoot situations.
Oh man, I'd be in line.
Yeah. Danny, that was me. I got a little strangled on my apple juice, so I was trying to hold in the coughs because people were going like, "I'm getting off there. It's not coming through my phone." So
What'd he
you're
say?
good. He was like, "Get the coughing person out of there." And I got strangled on my apple juice, but I've been trying to hold it in, and it's just not working. But no fears. But
and that fax machine, we already allow some of the security teams from the churches to come in.
Yeah.
And practice on that. And I spoke at a church Sunday night, and they're interested in doing that. And I just have to get with Sheriff Taylor about to see if they can do that.
Yeah. Well, bringing Mr. Taylor up, that's going to be a question a lot of people are interested in as far as him. A lot of things people want to know. It's the biggest question. Might as well get it out there. Did you know of any misconduct that was happening during his tenure?
No.
I mean, that's a question
Absolutely
people want to
not.
ask.
I've seen that on Facebook, and that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard rumors, but you hear rumors about a lot of stuff.
I got you.
The thing with the money, if you look, most people hadn't seen the whole SLED report, which is over 1,100 pages long. Most of them seen the report that was on Fitz News, which is about 46 or 48 pages. Mm-hmm. If you look at the whole SLED report, on page 2, on January the 24th, 2018, myself and another deputy, we were talking about buying equipment for the SWAT team. And I had asked him to go get a balance and see how much money he was working with. When he went and got the balance, it was $38 in that account. When he came back to me, we knew that was wrong because we just had a poker run and supposedly had raised over $5,000. Now, I don't know the exact amount, but I was told it was over $5,000. So we immediately told Sheriff Taylor about it. And not only did we tell Sheriff Taylor, I went on my own and called Solicitor Kevin Brackett over in York, who is over Union and York County as far as prosecution. Now, don't take my word for it. I've asked WBCU and Union County News to call Mr. Kevin Brackett, and he will confirm that. So the other accounts, I have no access to that.
Right.
And people's question me about that. Well, you've worked there. You had to know. You know, if you're a labor worker out here at Timpkin, you can't go to the plant manager and say, let me see your bank account. Right. Accounts up there. But the only one I had access to was the SWAT team account. And the only reason I had access to that is because that was all fundraised money from hot dog sales, golf tournaments, or poker run. None of that money was given to us by county council or any of the taxpayers. The SWAT team with the sheriff's office had never received any funds whatsoever from the county council or taxpayers until the October 2019 council meeting at the courthouse, where they decided they would give us some money and buy us a munitions launcher and another sniper rifle.
Yeah. What about access to the key?
Key?
For the desk or the office? What's her name?
It was in the SLED report that there was a key that had access to an office for the sheriff. I believe that they actually said was stored at, what was it, in a closet or
in the bathroom?
Or something like that, to where if other deputies or something like even from other towns, knew about this key, it was actually in the SLED report. I'd have to pull it up.
I remember seeing that, but I didn't know there was a key in there. It supposedly was in the closet between the secretary's office and the sheriff's office.
That's it.
But I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
See, working narcotics, my office is not around the courthouse.
Right.
My office is down near the Golden Triangle, across from the Triangle Vet Clinic. And I didn't come up to the courthouse unless I just needed something.
Right. Well,
I didn't know that was the office over there.
My question to that is the money that's got missing. We now have a lady who's established, it seems like by Taylor, to, I guess, kind of govern these accounts, and I think he mentioned her at the council meeting.
Miss Ann Boggs, she was hired by the county as a finance director. She handles not only the sheriff's office but all accounts for the whole county, overseeing it. From what I understand,
long time coming. It should have been. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But that's the last time I've seen her, got the chance to talk to you, other than sending you a message telling you, when could we get you on. But I got there late. Everybody.
I was there earlier. I got there about 30 minutes earlier that day, and I sat down. I think there was 2 other people in the room, and then I came early because they were talking about this county police thing, and I knew there would be a large crowd there. So I sit down, then David came in and sit down next to me, and you know,
yeah, and we'll kind of address that a little bit too. You know, a lot of people were like, you know, they're worried about cahoots. You know, that's the good old boy system. They're worried about that, and you know, I told everybody we're going to ask the toughest questions that we can. The questions that we can, and a lot of people seen that video, and I'll be honest with you, listen, I'm glad they're paying attention like that. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad they're paying attention like that, but more people were paying attention to the fact that you were sitting next to, you know,
Taylor. I was there way early.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there at least 30 minutes before the meeting started.
But even though, I mean, why does that matter? Just because of who you're sitting beside, and that should not be what people focus on. Just because.
No, I'm my own person. I have my own ideas of what I want to do with the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think there's need to be some change, or I wouldn't be running for sheriff.
Right.
Correct.
Exactly. And you know, it's like I say, it's nothing personal against Taylor. You know, you're there to do a job, and if you mess up on that job, you know, it's just the way of life. You know, people are gonna. But you just so happen to be messing up on a job that's the most centered public eye job, really, in small towns. The sheriff is number one when it comes to ridicule. I mean, number one by far. Because
you should be held to a higher standard, I believe. You know,
right? Especially
nobody's perfect, but you can't go out here and they'll say in law enforcement you can't party with people and then arrest them the next day. You know? You can't do that.
Yeah, and you know, one of the biggest things to me was the way he's kind of handling the after effect of what he's done. It's more of, you know, yes, some of that was true, some of it ain't. You know, first off, if, like I said before, if 1% of that celeb report was true about him, the reasonable, respectable thing to do is to resign. To simply keep respect of the office, your deputies who, you know, he can say it all day long that he's not, but their deputies are probably catching hell for the simple fact
you got some great deputies up here.
And they're catching it.
I've worked in Newberry. Well, I was over a task force with Newberry, Chester, Fairfield, and we've got some of the best deputies around. We've got some good deputies, and they catching a lot of slack for stuff that they didn't do.
Right.
You know, I hear people say they're not going to vote for anybody that worked for Taylor, and, you know, I say judge me or any other candidate on my work ethic, my training, and my experience, you know, and my platform of what I propose I want to do.
Yeah. Don't
judge me on anything that anybody else has done.
Yeah.
And the same goes for these deputies. They're great deputies up here. Union is a young department. They've lost a lot of experience over the years with some deputies retiring, but they're growing, and they got growing pains, and some of them's got to learn stuff. But they're catching a lot of slack right now for stuff that they didn't do.
I see a question here. It says, do you believe what you have done in Union County Narcotics Division has been effective, and have you given it your best? Which I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've done a good job. I feel like I still have some to give. That's why I'm running for the sheriff's position. We've made some really big cases in Union. All the big cases don't really hit the media. The reason being is because those big cases turn into federal cases. And when you turn them into a federal case, a federal agency, whether it's the DEA or ATF or Homeland Security or FBI, takes charge of that case then. And usually the cases run not only in South Carolina or other states, but sometimes we had one case that went back to war as Mexico. And you can't do press releases on cases like that, right, because that's their case. And sometimes those cases go on for years and have a lot of indictments that are tied to them, and that's their place to release any press release.
I got you. And here's a question here. It says, would you ever be interested in starting a program through the sheriff's office to help addicts that are repeatedly arrested for possession of narcotics? We were actually, me and you, talking about that before the show. They are normally put back out in a couple of weeks, back in again. Helping them would be better than just putting them out over and over. And, you know, I kind of know an answer to this. You know, punishment is not the job of the sheriff.
Right.
But
our job is investigate the cases and make the appropriate charges, and the solicitor prosecutes the cases, and the judges does the punishment. Yeah. Now there is some. York has a drug court. Mm-hmm. Now I know Union's trying to start that, and I think that would be a good thing to help people go through that, and where you have to you do random drug tests and stuff like that, and you have to show that you're trying to do right. And now we got the Prodigy Home, we got alcohol and drug abuse. Those are the places that have the funds to do that.
C4.
Yeah, C4. The sheriff's office really don't have the funds to do that. But what I would like to do is start on the young end in schools. Now, the research shows that the DARE program didn't work, but I'm not giving up on that. I can't say we can do the DARE program because the state does no longer fund that program. Right. But since we have school resource officers that are already in these schools, why not let them teach some type of curriculum about alcohol, tobacco, illegal drugs, and bullying. Mm-hmm. Bullying has become a huge problem in the schools.
Very much.
On an annual basis, how much do you, if you know the number, how much do you think it costs for the DARE program?
I don't know. They've discontinued that in Union
in the
90s, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and address this. I'll be, guys, y'all know I'm 100% transparent, but when it's not in dealing with just me, I have to be careful of things I say because I don't want to always talk about things. And this is an ongoing case situation, so I got to tread lightly a little bit. And if John wants to, kind of detail it more, he definitely can. The situation with the signs, me and him actually talked about that. I told him that that's probably something that we definitely need to address because it seems like that is one of the biggest things that's happening lately. But there is a situation, and again, I got to be careful because, like I say, it is ongoing of an investigation. But there was a gentleman who removed a sign, and I actually did talk to this gentleman before. I talked to him yesterday before the interview, and me and John actually talked about it before the show. And situation hopefully will be taken care of. But guys, understand, and I'm talking about this from personal experience. I was in a situation when I opened up my business, I was competing against another, and this guy was tearing up my signs. He was running over them. He was throwing them away. And man, you talking about $6, sometimes $10 a pop for these signs, for these little bitty signs. They're very expensive. And I still have signs back there. I ordered like 250 of them about 4 years ago, and I still have them because I put them out very lightly because they always seem to disappear. But guys, understand that if you put it on public property and stuff like that, if it's on public property, you're messing with those signs. And unless you're being a good Samaritan and fixing one, maybe, be cautious with that because somebody could say you were doing something that just
right. Make sure you ain't trespassing.
Leave it be. Yeah. Make sure you're not trespassing, but maybe just leave it be. But taking up these signs, destroying these signs in any way, shape, or form is illegal. And, me and John talked about that. And if he would like to say more than that, I'm more than willing to let him do that. But I see a lot of people were talking about that.
Sure.
And I want to address that.
I was young one time, a long time ago. I know kids are going to be kids and they're going to play with your signs and stuff. I have no problem with that. I've got over $6,000 in these signs. So I don't want you to tear up my signs, every year, even before I was signed up to be a candidate for sheriff, working at the sheriff's office, every season on election year, we would get complaints about signs getting gone, and a couple people would be arrested or whatever, I just don't want my signs tore up. And yesterday, I had a gentleman that puts out signs for me. He said, "Hey, yours and Tom McAbee signs has been run over out here at Peakville Road 215. I said, "Hey, put both signs back up." He said, "You want me to put Tom's?" I said, "Yeah, put Tom's back up." It's nothing personal with Tom.
Right.
He's got a right to run just like I do, and everybody's got a right to vote for whichever candidate they want. Just be an advocate for your candidate, and you don't have to say mean things or do mean things against any other candidate. voice your opinion through your vote.
Right.
And I will say this, and I like I say, I'll leave it where it's at here. And like I say, you want to expand upon it, that's all you. I did kind of tell you about this guy that I talked to. He seemed like he was a very genuine, very nice guy. And you have actually told me that you might even offer to speak with him. And
I'd be
maybe
glad to talk to him, yeah.
Yeah, because
I'll give you my number out where you have my number.
Yeah.
And you can give it to them, and I'll be glad to talk to him and his parents.
he seemed like a really nice guy.
I'm
so
not
maybe
trying
it's
to sink
just
nobody's ship over a sign, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that was just something a lot of people were talking about. And I want to help every candidate I can clear the air, fix it, because that's what it's about. Is just trying to, man, we're all in this together. We've got to
If
get
people
along.
would just talk, just talk.
Get along,
Yeah.
man. Just get along. That's what we need. Mike, did you have any questions so far?
I'll go ahead. Well, I come up with them when it's time. But one thing I wanted to ask, it's kind of a in general broad question, but if you were to win the election and become the new sheriff of Union County, what would be the first thing that you would tackle upon becoming sheriff?
I would put more deputies on the road because the citizen safety is the number one priority for a sheriff's office. It's not traffic. We do work some traffic. We have 6 radars. But the citizen safety is the number one priority. And I think putting more deputies in uniform and on patrol out in these rural areas is what we need, and that's what I would do.
Okay. And so the biggest issue with that would be filling those spots, because people are not beating down the doors to be a cop nowadays with everything going on. The scrutiny that y'all face when people should be respecting law enforcement and telling. Every time me and my son or children are out and we see a deputy, we'll go up and shake their hand and tell them thank you, or veteran, somebody in uniform. And if everybody would just do that, it would go a long way in easing the other people that are tensions.
And we want deputies that can come up to kids and talk to kids and people and shake their hands and have conversations with them and build that relationship. That's what we want here in Union. But we want to vet these applicants to make sure we're getting the right person. Like I say, we can't have somebody that goes out here and parties on Saturday night and then trying to arrest people Sunday morning. Doing the same thing. I don't want that.
One person sent me a message, and we've honestly brought it up to all candidates, and the answer is pretty much the same. You're going to be going through on the party of Democratic. Is that correct? Yes. Is that something that you're choosing to do for the election, or is that because I always feel like local elections, the political party isn't like on the the bigger span when you get to the Senate,
or at least for this small town.
Yeah, I think for
the reason I chose Democrat is, first of all, I'm me. I've never run for any political office whatsoever, so I've never really been a full-blown Republican, full-blown Democrat. Really, honestly, I've never really thought about it that much.
Right.
I did my thing, and I believed in what I believed in. And when I began researching this idea about running for sheriff, I've got a team of people that I consult with and talking with them and doing the research on past elections and stuff. I wish it was a nonpartisan election like school board, but it's not. So, but we just felt it was better to go as a Democrat right now.
I got a follow up. Do you know anything, or do you expect anything with the last election with the how do you say it, the rigging, I guess, of the election last time?
The allegation. We got to make sure we say allegation, because we don't want to.
The word right.
Yeah. There was an allegation made by a candidate. That potential. Possible election rigging was happening.
I wanted his views on it.
Yeah, do you have views, I guess, on that, and maybe some ideas to where that can be prevented, to where it's ever come up in the conversation?
Thank you for getting that.
Well, I never heard anything about that until I seen the SLED report.
Yeah,
that was the first I heard about that, and there's so many precincts that people vote in. It would be hard for me to see that election was rigged, you would have to have somebody at each precinct. Yeah. Everything's done on a machine now. But this year, on talking with the election commission, I know they have new machines, and it's supposed to be a lot better. So hopefully we won't have any doubt whatsoever, whatever happens this time.
Well, I seen one, with, I'm sure you know the name Jamie Davis. And his family were commenting on Facebook and, showed the proof where they live wherever, not here, and was making the statements that they were going to come vote because they had an address here. And that is voter fraud,
right. Absolutely.
And I'm sure there's a lot of that going on. There needs to be a way that we can combat this issue, but I guess maybe people should be required to bring in like a power bill or, something to prove.
That's going to be tough.
I agree with you. That would be good.
It would be good. That'd be tough, though.
There got to be some way to do that. I don't have the answers for you. Hopefully the election commission can come up with that before it's time to vote.
Because I just, and the reason being is you got people in here who have, different motives, and you're coming to vote when you have no inkling of benefiting from the vote,
right.
So, I mean, it's crazy.
Well, you're not giving back to the town. You're not helping the town to what your election's being given. And my goodness, the questions are coming.
They're coming.
They're coming hard. I'm gonna try to go through as many as I can, as fast as I can. Basically, this person here wanted me to word it in my own way, so I'm going to try to word it as they have it. It was pretty long. They said you've worked with two administrations, two sheriffs that doesn't have the best of past. I mean, let's be honest, they don't. And one's refusing to kind of step down and show respect for the office. You've worked under both of these. What will you do to make sure that you don't fall under a scandal? That you have not taken something of bad teachings, I guess is what they are trying to say. What do you see from them that you go, okay, that's not going to happen here?
Well, I've learned from a lot of their mistakes. For instance, the SWAT team account, we were in the process of switching it to dual signatures before a check could be written out of there. Yeah. I think that would probably be a good idea on a lot of the accounts with the sheriff's office as far as the money goes.
Yeah.
The thing with Howard wasn't arrested for anything that he done with the sheriff's office. Yeah. It was basically for giving false information to the FBI.
Yeah.
Common sense tells you don't lie to the FBI.
Yeah, and I think he has some tax issues or something like that too. Yeah, it's and I'm just going to try to sling them out there if I can. Somebody wanted me to ask, and I don't know if age. I guess he's probably talking about a specific case, and we'll try to keep as many specifics as we can because we don't want to bring up anything that we don't really have permission to do so with. We try to watch that area, but he says ask him if an 80-year-old man has a wellness check, do you feel like would you go inside of this person's house? Would you tend to try to use force to get him out, or try to use another way to get him to the door? I mean,
what do you mean a wellness check though? Like a medical?
Well, I guess I think that's what he's saying, like a wellness check. Maybe somebody who's
like somebody's daughter went to the house and couldn't get in, couldn't get somebody to the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we would try to go. What we do is we try to go around and see if we've got an open window or something like that where we can see in, or get that window raised and make sure there hadn't been no sign of forced entry. Because we don't want to damage any potential evidence if something has happened inside. But yeah, as a last resort, we'll get in the house and check on somebody, and we found a lot of deceased people, unfortunately, that way.
Yeah, my dad, he found a deceased lady he used to cut grass for. He had to kind of kick in her door, and somebody wanted me to
yeah, I was checking. I think.
Yeah, because I'm trying to move as fast as I can. One of the biggest things that I'm seeing in the chat and in the messages is Union County, which I'm sure if we go looking in other counties, we're no different than most, but that doesn't still make it, a good thing or bad thing. But a lot of unsolved murders. People wanted to know, you're talking about possibly pulling an investigator off and creating a possible patrolman. Do you feel like how's that going to affect the way investigations are being right now, considering there's, a lot of unsolved murders?
The investigator I'm talking about is a gang investigator. He don't investigate the homicide and stuff. We have 5 criminal investigators and a gang investigator. Okay. I would pull the gang investigator slot and put that in uniform.
Okay. All right. Mike, you got any?
The unsolved murders, we've got one in Monarch, one in Johnville. Both of those were assigned to the same individual who was actually not a detective. That was before I took over the supervisor slot for detective. The other one is a female up in Johnville that was missing, the Ashmore lady. I do know that there's still quite a bit of evidence being processed, and I believe there will be an arrest made on that eventually. Sometimes you're at the mercy of other entities when you're waiting on evidence to be processed and to get paperwork and evidence back, and I think that's where they're at right now.
Now, I do apologize. I was trying to read, and in which case was that one?
Ashmore,
okay. The one from Monarch, that one's been pretty much a cold case for a while, and unfortunately, there's just sometimes where there's just not a lot of evidence left. I mean, we have plenty of TV shows that show cold cases.
No one talking.
There's no one talking, but a lot of times they just.
That's another thing. Your local law enforcement, they're only going to be as good as the information that the community gives them. We don't have a crystal ball where we can see stuff. And sure, we get forensics, DNA and stuff like that, and evidence, other types of evidence that help lead us to solve crimes. But man, people's got to step up to the plate. This Union County belongs to the citizens. This is your county, and you want to live in a safe environment for not only yourself, but the elderly and for the children. So law enforcement needs them to step up and help. Right. You don't have to always give your name. You can do it through Crime Stoppers anonymously, or you can call the sheriff's office and talk with an investigator or a deputy anonymously a lot of times.
Here's somebody that asked a question. I'm sorry, Mike. Let me just grab this one real quick. Man, it just made it shoot out of my head, but it was actually a good one too. It was my question, but it'll come back, I'm sure. Somebody wanted to ask, do we have a high population of gangs, like gangs in Union County?
We have some gangs, but they're mostly the young crowd now. Yeah. We've got a couple members that moved here from out of town, like Charlotte. We've got a guy that's trying to start one up that moved here from Charlotte. He's been arrested several times, and to my knowledge, he still has an active warrant on him and his own Crime Stoppers. He's wanted right now. So
you have one?
Oh yeah, I actually got two. First, I guess I wanted to ask, what is your view on the Frank Hart proposal?
I'm totally against that.
Okay. Yeah, I would think anybody in their right mind would be.
I think that the public elects a sheriff, and that's his duty to run his department. And if you don't like the way the sheriff runs it or whatever, you can vote him out in 4 years. If he violates the law, then the governor should remove him.
Yep.
But I don't think that answering to a supervisor and 6 councilman is the answer.
With no police training, no kind of experience whatsoever, except for one, I think, Tommy. But
as a law enforcement officer, you receive a lot of political pressure.
Oh yeah.
Every law enforcement officer has. Whether you get somebody's relatives, a friend, or something like that, you always get phone calls wanting to help you out.
Yeah.
And that's something I am 100% totally against. I'm not going to have that.
I'm not going to
have no political pressure. And I said that in the council meeting. If I received that or my deputies received it, I would report you to the paper and the Ethics Commission.
And he kind of made it like as if, well, that's not going to happen here. That's the kind of way, as if it's not going to happen. He has no way of knowing that. And it's probably, you've got seven people sitting there. So, you've got what 70% or however many 7 out of 100, 7 out of 10. You know, you have a high percentage chance now of that actually happening more so than now.
Right.
Like if you don't do this, then I won't do this.
I won't vote you for this. I won't give you this, and it just.
But at the last council meeting, they decided to table it. And I think they've talked with an attorney from the Sheriff's Association and the county attorney, and they're trying to get together and work out a resolution.
Yeah, I tell you the truth, I just don't see that as something that should be Frank Hart's problem. I just don't. That's not his problem. He needs to worry about the county, worry about his side.
My thing is
and just
not bringing it to the people. You know, it's going to try. Well, you know, but they were trying to slide it through, you know, and talk about it, but it would have never been public knowledge that it was going on if.
And a lot of people don't understand what they're talking about,
right?
When they're talking about that.
So Tom Brady to the books. Just real quick, sorry.
For real?
A big story. Yep, big story. Tom Brady's gone to the Buccaneers, so sorry.
Cam Newton's up for trade.
Cam Newton's probably going to end up in New England, more than likely,
garbage
or LA. Just sorry, these are big stories, big impacts and economies in these areas because of this person. But my question I thought about. The Second Amendment, you will always protect that, and this would be
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. I have a concealed weapons permit, even though I was a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
Because I got tired of going to the turkey banquets, and I would win a gun or something, and then I'm standing there as a police officer with a gun on my side, and I couldn't leave with a gun. So I got a concealed weapons permit where I could leave with the gun if I won one that night. But I am for every law-abiding citizen in the United States. And to carry and own a firearm if they want, I would hope that they would have proper training.
Yes.
And when I'm talking to some groups, I tell people, if you don't think that you could use that firearm if the time ever arose, don't carry it because you're carrying your own murder weapon. That's what you're doing,
or somebody else's.
You have one.
Yeah. My second question, it kind of stems from Mr. Jennings' interview. It was a question asked to him, which I thought, you know, should be asked to you. I'm not sure how much you handled in the narcotics division as far as money, but do you feel like you would be capable of overseeing the finances of the sheriff office? And if so, to what degree? That's just basically what he was asked. So.
When the sheriff would go on vacation, I was in control of the sheriff's office, okay? And as a narcotics officer or a narcotics supervisor, the narcotics officers have to buy money, okay, to buy these illegal drugs. Mm-hmm. And we had a fund set up, and they would have to put in with a voucher, and the sheriff would have to sign for it to get the money relayed to them in a check. So they would get a check. They would go to the bank, cash the check, and get it in either $20 bill denominations, 100, whatever the buy calls for. And while I was there, I had 2 guys working under me, and I routinely did audits on them just to make sure. I didn't think they were stealing anything, but it's always good to go in and just do random audits.
Well, you never know.
And check that. You know, that's my job is to do that, and I did that. There was never a problem or issue with any money in the narcotics unit, okay?
I got 2 questions here that are basically the same, so I'll get 2 in one stone here. They both asked what is possibly a plan that you have to help with this meth epidemic, but also the pill epidemic, opioids and stuff like that. What do you see as something that we could? I mean,
well, the meth epidemic, unfortunately, I think is going to change to a heroin epidemic before long. We're already seeing that in Spartanburg, Greenville, and the northern counties in South Carolina. From us on down is meth right now until you get to the beach, and then that's heroin there. But what's happened is the drug cartels out of Mexico have flooded the whole United States so much with methamphetamine. Back in 2010, I remember buying an ounce of methamphetamine was $2,000. When I left in February, we could buy an ounce of methamphetamine for $375. And it's more potent than it was in 2010. Yeah. So they have flooded in here. And the reason they did that is to get people addicted to it, which is, keeps their sales up. So But the way you're going to combat this, or the way I think we need to combat it, is what we was doing with the multi-jurisdictional task force, sharing information with other law enforcement agencies, not only in your county, but statewide and on the federal side. And you have to network. That's what the cartel does to get the drugs here from Mexico, all the way from the person that's growing the coca leaves or the poppy plants to the drug traffickers that bring it to the high crime areas like Atlanta, Charlotte, New York, Miami, and then they distribute them out from there. That's what we have to do. We have to concentrate and network with each other and share information. You know, we have websites now like an Epic Center where I can go on, and if I want to tag somebody's tag from Union or listed in the computer, it'll pop up on like license plate readers all across the country. If they go across the border, I can get an email. But I don't want to share too much of this information. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, probably out of, let's just say 10 calls, I mean, out of those 10, I ain't going to just general say a type of drug. Out of 10 calls that you probably have a night, how many of those are probably dealing with drugs?
Yeah. Well, with narcotics, we didn't.
Well, you're in narcotics, but I guess when you was a patrolman or if you
that was the reason I got into narcotics, because actually, after I was in law enforcement for a little while, you see that 90% of your calls are drug-related some way or another, whether it's a fight over drugs, a robbery over drugs, a shooting over drugs, domestics because the husband or wife done spent all the money with drugs. It's all drug-related.
Right.
You know, it comes back to that same thing. So that's where you have to start at, in my opinion, is with the drugs. And if you can get a handle on some of the drugs, you're not going to ever stop the drugs. I mean, it's a $500 billion business globally a year. But we're going to do the best we can do.
Yeah. Got a call.
Yeah, I don't have it paired. Let's see. I was looking. I seen a question here just a second ago. I'm going to leave you some time here in just a second. We'll probably roll this into about 8:15 because we were a couple minutes late. So we'll roll it down. Mike, did you have a question? Because
somebody here said, do you have a plan to partner with Spartanburg Sheriff Office because of the drugs coming from there?
We already have an agreement with all surrounding counties, and I've already worked with Spartanburg County. I've worked with most of the counties in the upstate, Greenville, Pickens, Oconee, Spartanburg many times.
How you feel about Chuck Wright?
I like Chuck. I've met Chuck several times. I've actually went deer hunting with Chuck Wright. Nice guy.
Did y'all kill anything?
Nice guy. He shot one and he didn't find it, so give him a hard time when you see him.
Yeah.
One statement Kevin said, I know he don't mind. He says, you have a plan to partner with Spartanburg Sheriff's Office because a lot of these drugs are actually coming from there.
That's what I just...
Did you say that one?
That's exactly what
you said? Because I'm sorry. Well, I can't read off the chat because Mike's going to get all these questions from there then.
Yeah, we do get a lot of methamphetamine from Spartanburg and Greenville way.
I must have.
We get a lot of fentanyl from Chester, Fairfield, and Lawrence.
I actually I asked the question you asked with the Jennings interview because I just seen somebody else kind of mention it. What's your stance on the legalizing of marijuana?
Well, you've been in narcotics, so do you see, like, have you ever had people where you've arrested them and let's say they're 18, 19, you're popping them with weed, all right? Yeah. 5 years later, you're seeing them gateway into heavier stuff. Do you have that connect? Do you see?
I've seen that, yes, but. Honestly, right now, marijuana is the least of our worries with methamphetamine, heroin, and fentanyl. But marijuana is still illegal.
Yeah.
Now, if I catch, a kid out here with one joint, am I going to put him in jail? Probably not.
Well, so that's the biggest issue.
I'm probably going to call his parents and say, look, he's got this. You might want to.
But that's an officer's discretion, too. So that does not mean that if there's a kid watching, I'm going out smoking tonight because that's an officer's discretion. So.
As far as the legalization, let me say that I'm for if a kid has seizures or someone is terminally ill, I'm all for them.
Right.
whatever you can. If the Marinol pill don't work, which contains the THC, I'm all for whatever help they can get to get them some relief. Yeah. But for actually legalizing marijuana, I'm not for that. And the reason because of that is because it has an unknown duration. There's so many different types of marijuana, and the potency varies from bud to bud on a plant, you know. Right. And it's just, and then you get into the workforce. It's an average of 3% increase on businesses' insurance if they don't do drug testing. Then you're going to have more work accidents. Marijuana is still against federal law in all 50 states. It's still against the federal law. So you don't get federal contracts at plants or states where it's legalized. They don't do that.
Well, a big question that somebody just reminded me of, and I can't believe I forgot it, because this is usually the first question that I start asking. Conduct within the offices. You know, obviously we got a sheriff right now, but there are also some past stories that we've actually brought up here on the show. We've talked about them. Some current situations that's going on that I'm unfortunately not able to talk about because they are current. Conduct between officers that work under the same department, and conduct, you know, misconduct of where this, I mean, I just got to come out, you know, with the police that, you know, was doing things in his car that he shouldn't have been, you know, is being recorded. Do you tolerate, or will you tolerate stuff like that?
Not. Okay. I'm 100% against police corruption. I have arrested police officers in the past. I've arrested judges in the past, lawyers, doctors, and nurses, and EMTs. I don't care who it is. If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law, and I will arrest you. Yeah. You know, I'm not in this to make an arrest.
Right.
I got in law enforcement because I want to help people, but we're not going to tolerate any misconduct. In fact, a lot of the agencies now don't even use SLED to investigate this. I was called by Chester Sheriff's Office 2 years ago to come over and do an internal investigation involving police officers, the jail, their nurse, and EMS. 2 deputies lost their jobs, 3 jail officers, and I arrested the nurse and arrested the EMT, and 2 inmates were sent back to SCDC who was just runarounds at their jail.
Right. This is a kind of a question. I'm not sure if it has an answer. You know, now, you know, Frank Hart has control of the jail. Do you feel like that's something that should be in control of the sheriff? Because I do. I'm just being honest. That's my opinion.
Well, Neil is, but Neil works for Frank.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, I really think the sheriff should probably have that. I can see why the sheriff was more than glad to get rid of it. It is a headache with the medical, and you get a lot of lawsuits from the jail. People will sue you. I know Howard got sued one time over not being able to provide a law library to an inmate up there. So, wow. But yeah, I think the sheriff should probably run the jail.
Yeah, because how many escapes have happened?
4, right?
Since, I guess, under Frank Hart.
I don't remember. I know one time I went up there and they'd put up a new round of razor wire on the fence. Whoever installed it backwards where you couldn't break in instead of breaking.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, come on.
But they finally corrected that. So.
Well, and you know, those guys, you know, I know a couple of guys that work at the jail, and they need help too. You know, they're overworked, and you know, that is Frank's department. It's not a question really for you, but let's say something ever comes up to where you know, you're sheriff and you regain control. Is that something that you'll also look into as trying to maybe pay increase or at least give them some help?
Well, I think they're proposing maybe a new jail because from my understanding, I think just not maybe going to expand, or was talking about expanding. So
yeah,
that may be something in the future. But
never something
I would really love to have a law enforcement center.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, 911 here, the jail there, the courthouse here, narcotics office there, we spread out.
It'd save a lot of money.
You wouldn't have to transport inmates from the jail to here. You could just walk them over like most counties are doing now.
Mike,
and, the dispatchers, they're in the same boat. They're hurting. They need help. It's hard to keep dispatchers down there with the pay that they have. When you can go to any other surrounding counties and make more money.
Right.
You know.
That's a good point. You staring at me. Did you have a question?
Oh, I was just looking at you.
Okay, I thought I thought you was trying to get my attention.
I got one from somebody that messaged.
I'm listening this time.
They said, how did you come to want to be sheriff after and leave after all these years? I'm sorry. How did you come to want to be sheriff and leave after all these years?
Well, it's something that I've wanted to do. I guess as you go along in your career, you set goals, and then when you meet that goal, you set another higher goal. And I was second in command at the sheriff's office, and I love being a law enforcement officer. That's all I ever done all my life since I was 21 years old. I'm almost 51 now, and I can't do the jump outs and run everybody down on foot like I used to. Right. But I think I still have some usefulness left, and I think I could pass along my experience and training to some younger officers and help them as being the sheriff. Yeah. That's what I want to do. And I actually decided this a couple months ago, and I went out in past December and signed my retirement papers, actually before this report ever even came out. Yeah. And I did it for February the 14th, and I came back and told the sheriff the next day and gave him plenty of notice. And that's what I wanted to leave on a good note. And
so to help your election, 2 days will be my birthday. You can get me a present.
It's just all about birthdays.
You're talking about corruption already.
Voter bribery.
Hey, but I got a little Corona thing for Gestamp. I just got messaged about. If you want to hear it.
Yeah, we'll give us just a second, and that way we'll do it at the end. That way, everybody. But man, this person is very, very.
Just cut the ringer off.
I'm about to. But if let's just say something happens, you don't win the election, do you feel like you might try to step back into it, help the current mayor, or you think you're just I know you don't want to think that road because everybody wants to be positive. It's always something to kind of because you do have a lot of experience. You know?
The only drawback is now I've retired. Yeah. I'm not 57 years old. Yeah. So I have a cap that I can only make $10,000 and still draw my retirement with the state.
You should have said,
honestly, guys, I'm making more retired than I did when I was working. Right. $200 more a month. So
you should have said, I'm not going to lose.
Because I need it. I'm doing this because it's something I want.
Right.
It's my livelihood. That's what I want to do.
And see, a lot of people don't never get to feel that to actually do a job that they love and want to do, because it makes a difference when you do what you set out to do with your life. Yeah.
And, last year I worked more than any deputy in the sheriff's office. Every year I've been in the top 3 working the most days. And that's because I love doing what I do. I'm single. I have no kids. So I worked a lot of nights. I worked on these task force out of towns. Some nights we'd work all night. Some nights it'd be 2 or 3 o'clock. And sometimes we'd do roundups at daybreak. It was crazy hours, work weekends. And
do you find it hard finding a relationship because of the job, or is it just you're not actively
looking? I've dated the same lady for over 16 years. I have a relationship, but when I say single, I'm not married.
Okay.
Well, it's and being a cop today is, like I say, it's rough. Mm-hmm. It's rough because you got to be so careful of everything that you do now. Like I was watching a show. This guy sitting in court. He's got somebody up there testifying against him. Well, he decides to get up, grab the pen from his lawyer, and literally dives and tries to stab him. The U.S. Marshal shoots him and unfortunately kills him. But then, the family of that guy say it was an unnecessary shooting. And I'm like, well, I guess we should have just let him kill that guy, and then we'd have probably. But,
a lot of these that you see, and they're talking about it's not justified. I'm like, how? Yeah. He's got a gun.
You bring up a good point there with shootings, As a deputy here in Union and working for 30 years, I've been involved in 6 critical incidents. So I know what needs to happen in those situations. And I try to take care of the guys that's never been in nothing like that. You have to be careful what you say. Yeah. And first and foremost, you want to let your family know that you're all right. Yeah. But something that I would like to set up is like some mandatory counseling, because deputies, when they go through a traumatic situation like that, Any first responder is kind of hard-headed and they prideful, and nobody wants to admit that they need help. Yeah. But sometimes you need help, you need to talk to somebody about that, and sometimes you can't talk to your family. I'd like to set up a policy where a deputy, if he goes through something like that, has to go through the counseling, right. Not only to help him, but it clears the agency saying, hey, we got this professional medical doctor saying that this guy's fit to return to work in case something happens down the road. Right now, a deputy, he's not going to go see a medical doctor on his own because that goes in his file. And if something happens down the road, they're going to bring that back up and use it against him. But if you make it a policy,
right,
they had to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that would affect his pension, right?
It could,
depending on what's in the file.
Yeah.
Well, we've went over just a little bit more than I thought, but John, what I'm gonna do, like I do all of them, and guys, I know we wanted to do calls, but we got to ask a lot more questions this way without the annoying beep 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 beep. So it actually worked out.
Oh, I'm sorry, but they could actually ask their own questions at the debate. They show up. So.
The debate is still on.
As of now,
pending, the governor. Well, it could very well be that the college itself might not allow us to do it. So we'll talk about that. But as far as right now, as far as I know, it's still on. It's 2 months away. We'll see what happens. But John, I want to give you the floor. If there's anything you would like to say or bring up, talk about anything like that, I'll definitely give you the floor to kind of conclude and let you do what you need to do there, brother.
Well, I want to tell the Citizen Union that they're lucky to have some of these deputies. Like I said, they're fine deputies, and not just the deputies, all the first responders. And if elected sheriff, that's one of my goals, is to build a better working relationship with the first responders. I think I kind of got a bad name there for a little while because we used Spartanburg Search and Rescue on one of these searches, but I'm like everybody else. I've got a boss. I've got to do what he says, and we was using a cadaver dog, and he was attached to that group, and that's why they used the Spartanburg group. But I would like to use the union group and even the dive team. I mean, we've got a great dive team. The sheriff's office here does not have a dive team, but we want to use the search and rescue dive team and get a better relationship with the fire department and their personnel. Because we all got to work together, and when we work together, that means a safer place for the citizens of Union County. And for the officers, I know y'all mentioned it one time before about the UHF radios, the 800 radios. There's 2 dead spots in Union County right now, and that's basically the 4-lane in Whitmire and down around the southern part of the county, down near Carlisle and Herbert Road area, St. Luke's Road out there. But we can fix that, guys. These towers right in Whitmire, and there's another tower in Palmyra. All we got to do is just pay a little money, and we can get on those. Sheriff Lee Foster's already said that he gives us permission to get on those towers, even though they belong to Palmetto 800. And I would hope that all the first responder personnel would eventually go to these 800 radios, because I miss being able to just talk back and forth when you needed something instead of me having to tell dispatch, to tell the fire service to do this, or the fire service tell them, you waste a lot of time like that. We need to be able to communicate and talk to each other, and not only with the fire service, but EMS and the city police. They finally went to it, and we can talk with them now. But
that's your lifeline. Sometimes that's your lifeline.
Yeah, and you get down in there, like you say, you get down at the trestle on Herbert Road, and we've been down there a lot of times. You don't have no phone service, you don't have no radio service, and you get into something, and the next closest deputy may be in Cross Anchor.
Yeah,
and you need to be able to holler.
Yeah,
hey, exactly. Give me some help.
Exactly. I mean, I hate to keep talking about Live PD, but there was a guy that was an officer. He was fighting somebody, and he came over the radio that he needed help. The guy was pretty bigger than him, and just so happened there was a volunteer firefighter who heard it over the radio, and he was on the street right next to him, and was able to run over there and help him. So
absolutely,
those things are lifelines.
Yep, I've been out on a traffic stop before and had to fight with a guy, and a truck driver pulled over and helped me.
Wow.
And hey, I was glad to see him because I was tired.
Yeah, we watched one today. It was bad, but I'm not going to keep talking about Live PD. Y'all can watch that yourself. But it was bad, man. He was screaming for help.
It's so much better than Cops, though.
Well, it's
live.
Cops is real too, but it just, and I think it's so beneficial.
Unedited.
Well, it shows people exactly what's happening, what cops literally have to go through. I mean, it's pretty intense, but
it's informative.
John, I appreciate it, and I can't wait for the debate. Like I say, I don't know if it's going to be me up there. I would prefer it be somebody else asking questions, and hopefully we'll get somebody a little bit more sophisticated to do that.
So
is that
me?
the word?
That's what you're saying. You want me?
Look at your hat, Mike.
Yeah,
look at your hat. I mean, come on. So
go Gamecocks.
Well, I appreciate y'all letting me be here, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And and your previous co-worker, whatever, he's out now. He's going to be running. So hopefully we'll get in touch with Mr. Hines and get him on here as well. You got a lot of competition this year. There's a lot of candidates, but
which is
a good thing. It's a good thing. We should never be bound to not having options, especially when it comes to our elected officials.
This is up to the voters, and that's
democracy.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So
it's the best system in the world.
Yeah. So, John, we appreciate it. Yep. Mike, we're going to roll it over here to you real quick. You said you had an update?
Oh, yeah. Well, I got a text from my boss. Usually when we get to work, we go and have our changeover. Maintenance team meets with second shift maintenance, see what's all going on, whatnot. So now per headquarters of Gestamp, I'm guessing BMW, and our local HR, we're now to not have that meeting. Meet on the floor. Stay 6 feet apart. Yeah. And then there was another message. There's no shaking hands, bumping fists, or any kind of contact with another employee. So I guess
wash your hands.
I told.
Bottom line, wash your hands.
I expected before the end of this week, but I bet BMW will shut down.
Wash your hands.
And that will shut everybody else down.
Wash your hands.
That's going to be a bad
Just
day.
have hygiene. Wash your hands, wash your butt, wash it all, man. Just wash yourself off. You have a lot of germs.
It's hard to use sanitizer when they don't got any.
That's right. So, guys, thank you so much. I'm sorry about the calls. I promise you we'll get that situation fixed, but I was so tired of the beep because I need to go back and listen. As you heard earlier, I don't always get to 100% pay attention because I'm getting the next question and all that. I completely did not hear Mike's question. And so
yeah, you did. What you said was the exact same
thing. So it gives me now an opportunity where I can go back and listen and write notes and I'm like, okay, that's a good question to ask the next campaign. So guys, I appreciate it. If I did not get your question, I promise you it wasn't intentional. It's so many.
Hey, people got to understand it's tough. If we had a call screener here or somebody who just manned the phones, it would be so much easier.
For every 10 questions that are asked in the chat, I'd say you times that times 2 in the private messages because a lot of people want to stay anonymous, and I understand.
And you miss a lot of questions in the chat because it scrolls. It's so fast
rolling.
Man, we thank you for that. Thanks for
we're not complaining, I promise. But if you have an immediate question, I'm sure John is available. I'm pretty sure I would request, to send it on Facebook, and I'm sure he'd probably get back to you in a timely fashion. If you have a question for him, I'm sure he won't have no problem answering it for you. But we do have the debate coming up, so we'll there will be no interlude there. When the debate starts, I'm going to try to see if all the candidates are willing to roll about 2 hours. Because once you start asking questions, time flies. Like this here, it's been an hour and a half. Time it's over. So, I think 2 hours is a good time. That's a lot of questions, and hopefully by there we can get a lot of people's decisions on who they want. And I'll be honest with you, it sounds a little rough, cruel, whatever word you want to use, but also by the end of that, maybe we can kind of give some feedback to some of the candidates that we just say, look, it's probably not going to work out. It's probably, none of them ever want to hear that, but you don't want to continue seeing them spend money on a campaign when it's possibly not there, and a lot of people will appreciate that, but some of them not going to care either way, but it will give them an idea of, okay, here's where you are. This is where you need to be. This is what you need to address. That's what we're here to do. So, but John, thank you so much for being here, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And Mike,
yes, sir.
Do your little. Yep, that's it. Man, we even got a sound effect that time. Your hat did it. It was like but guys, I love you. We'll be back Thursday.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Don't care what the governor says. I
will be
open.
Here.
The mailbox store, the title on site, I am open. If he tells me I have to shut down, he might have to come lock the doors because I am a business owner. We have to be here. That's the way we live. That's the way we make our meat at home is by working here and going and buying it. So, be safe. Wash your freaking hands. If somebody doesn't have hand sanitizer or toilet paper, and you got an immense amount, help your neighbor.
If you don't have hand sanitizer, soap always works.
Soap is more recommended than sanitizer. Just be aware of that.
You don't have to have sanitizer. So
yep, and wash your kids' hands. Make sure your kids are washing their hands too. They're the biggest threat. These kids, obviously. But guys,
we love you.
We love y'all.
To see you next time.
We'll take care, and we'll see you again Thursday at 7 p.m. Mike, take it easy, brother.
You too, man.
You don't work too hard.
I'll try.
That's a lie.
This has been The Casey Show.